This episode will touch on heavy topics like mental well-being and health, stress, loneliness, and dealing with conflicts. We hope that you approach this episode with sensitivity and empathy towards the student's experience. If you or anyone around you is in need of psychological intervention, here are some resources.
Supposing you are stressed, who's the first person you talk to?
My friends.
Your friends?
My mom.
Your mom?
And my mom.
Your mom?
Oh, it depends.
It depends on, what does it depend on? Depends on?
Today we are talking about mental well-being among students. How are they coping and are they struggling to manage their mental well-being? Here in our roundtable, we have a few youths with us together with Education Minister Chan Chun Sing. So all the youths here today, they brought pictures. The pictures represent like a big feeling or something that you felt very recently. One by one, can you share the story behind this photo?
Back in secondary school, I took culinary restaurant operations and retail e-commerce. There was this inter-class competition and we had to create our own dish. Initially, I created the dish ratatouille. 1 week before the actual competition, they said the recipe couldn't be used because it wasn't listed in the ingredients they gave.
Were you stressed when suddenly people told you or suddenly you realized that the ingredients were changed?
I was more angry because it was very last minute, but on the day itself, I was more excited, but I also felt nervous at the same time.
What do you do to calm yourself or overcome all these emotions and focus on your task?
Honestly, the anger didn't last as long. I just have to go with it and try to make the best out of it.
And it's a very good attitude. You are very gung-ho, right? Huh?
I chose this picture because it represented my emotion, like a sense of relief, because early on this year, I was actually part of the planning committee for orientation. It was my first time planning such a large-scale event. I felt like I had a huge responsibility to plan the event well. We had to, do late-night calls, a lot of planning outside of curriculum hours. We also had to ensure that we catch up with our studies because during orientation, we missed a lot of lessons.
When you were stressed, what was uppermost on your mind?
During the event itself, I was thinking about all the bad things that could happen, but because I was doing it with my team as well, so I was communicating with them a lot and they also relate to me because we were going through the same thing.
Oh, I see. So you drew strength from your team.
Yes.
I brought a picture of a sunset. She's my favorite part of the day.
Why is it that you like to see sunset?
Yeah, why
what
do you
is
like it so much?
About sunset that you like?
It feels very relaxing, very calm. I like to take photos. I write as well.
That's your way to
Relax.
relax.
Yeah.
What's the most stressful moment you have recently?
When I have to MC events at my school.
Oh, I see.
And prepare the script and everything.
This picture was taken during preparations of O-levels. This picture evokes one of the big feelings, deep sense of regret, because I put so much pressure on myself leading up to the O-levels period. There are grades that I wanted to achieve, but when I got those grades, I didn't feel anything, not even a sense of relief. After all that hard work, seeing the results, was it worth it or not? I couldn't really say. Because the results is there, but at what cost? It was too much pressure.
Supposing you retrace this journey a couple of years ago and then you go through this journey again. At this same moment that you took the photograph, what would you tell your younger self?
I would say just relax because I put too much pressure on myself. Whenever I feel like I'm putting too much pressure on myself, I always take a step back and what
So
do
that's
I
your
want to
coping
achieve?
mechanism.
Yeah.
Taking care of your mental well-being is actually quite important. Was there any point in your life where you realized, oh, this is something I have to pay attention to?
Straight after O-levels, I realized my unhealthy mental state. During a period of time, I cry a lot more. I need my friends or my family. I talk to them a lot more.
Building up to O-levels, I was at the lowest point in my life. Academically, I wasn't doing so well. And I faced a slight form of racism from my peers. So I isolated myself. All aspects of my life were affected negatively. I was only able to get out of that isolation when my parents reached out to me. And my teachers also reached out to me. They recognized the the changes in my behavior and how I became more quieter. They reached out to me, talked to me, and it got better. And I was able to open up more, and I can reach out for help when I am feeling low.
Back in primary school, there was a bit of bullying, kind of left out, kind of judged. I have family issues, which caused me to have a lot of anxiety and stress. I went to seek help afterwards. I went counseling. It got better, and I had the support that I needed. My parents, they were here to check in. They will like ask once in a while. They say, "So is everything okay?" And my counselor will also contact my parents if it's really needed. It's early on this year, during the orientation period, I had to juggle with a lot of responsibilities. I wanted to make sure that I was doing well for all aspects, which is very hard. I might not have enough time to, make sure that I do everything perfect.
But that sounds similar, right? There's a certain perfectionist streak. What was the reason that you thought that you became so-called perfectionist in your work?
I think it's the internal expectations.
Oh, so you set your own expectations.
Yes, it's like the pressure that I give myself, because once you do a certain thing well, then you feel a sense of satisfaction for yourself. But at the same time, I can't always set like such high expectations for myself, and I need to learn to adapt to what I can do.
So that's another coping mechanism, being realistic in setting our expectations of. Of course, it doesn't mean that we all have no standards and we don't care about excellence. Too high, and then you get disappointed, and then you get stressed. Too low, you don't feel the sense of motivation per se, right? So there's a bit of an art and science in this.
What's one thing that you guys want to see in conversations about mental well-being?
In this generation, we are more open to mental health. The older generations, like my mom, her generation, like her parents, they weren't educated about mental health. Like, it's not acknowledged.
Yeah, I agree actually. I feel like the older generation is a bit more, I don't know if I'm using the term right, survivalist, as in like, if I have food on the table, I have a roof over my head, I'm fine. Something like that.
Maslow hierarchy. So you talk about food, shelter, jobs. Today we are able to recognize more of these things because maybe that part of things we have largely settled. Not everything is settled, but largely settled. And then we can look at other aspects of it.
One thing I would like to see more is actually normalizing opening up your emotions. Sometimes we might have a fear of judgment. People might look down on you if you open up. Who knows, maybe you relate with the person that you're talking to, and you guys can go through this process together.
Also, not taking advantage of what people share to you. If someone relays to you a very confidential information, it's good if you can keep quiet about it and not take advantage of that information, share it with other people.
So if you can design a program, if you like, to better cope with the stresses and strains of life, what would you suggest?
I'm quite happy with the support system at my school. I like the PSL aspect to it. PSL is a peer support leader. It's very like personable. It's someone you meet every day. They can relate to you more.
So you wanted somebody whom you can trust.
Yeah. It's more relatable to them so they
It's
can
more
understand
relatable.
me.
I
Yeah.
see. Singapore Poly has a very structured program training the peer support leaders, because they train them not to just to take care of one another. Because when you know how to take care of one another, you also start picking up so-called the signs and symptoms of some of the potential issues that you yourself might be grappling with.
I think we should approach the younger generation with a much more informal standpoint, because there's a stigma around mental health. That's why they are resistant to go to this.
I see. So
events.
to remove the stigma.
By addressing mental health, we are also kind of addressing the stigma as well.
When you talk to your friends, how do they respond? They say, no, don't talk to me because it's not my problem. I don't have such problems. Are they interested to talk to you?
We would check in on each other. We just say, hey, how are you? How are you doing?
You think having more friends, circle of support, will be important?
Actually, quite similar actually, right?
Yeah,
To what Anissa said. Yeah.
Peer support.
Peer
and,
support.
Maybe we can have more of the practical ways to interact with students. If we can have like booths, or like more interactive booths. For example, this booth, it teaches you how to regulate your emotions through some playing features. Yeah.
In my school, we have this mental health week or day. We have these booths too. There was one bracelet making, if I'm not wrong, which I did, and journaling, which I also like participated in. They were very helpful.
I do think that there's counseling at schools, even in primary schools. Some people, they might not want to go for it, even though there are talks and everything. I don't think students will really listen to them. These talks are useful, yes, but only 10% go for counseling.
So there's a very interesting point, right? So even if we make available some of these materials, not everyone will go. And perhaps those who need it most don't go. Maybe because of stigmatization, maybe because they are shy. Is there anything that you think we all can do better to help send them this message that actually help is available, or there are these coping mechanisms that you may want to try?
Make it an informal setting, because I feel like people are more willing to share when they're in an informal setting. They don't feel like there are people strictly to judge or to help. They can just share.
One of the important things is not to wait for the problem to happen, then we try to help people, right? Actually, a lot of it is what we call upstream inoculation. So it's about that inoculation to build up that individual resilience, but always knowing that if anything fails, and things can fail, that there's always a support group out there for you to call upon.
I try not to put my mind towards the stress. Just try not to think too far ahead, especially when it comes to stress.
What about the rest of you? Do you have any other methods or coping mechanism?
I like to plan ahead. To fail to plan is to plan to fail, yes. I like to look at my schedule for the week before it starts. I see all these stressful events and plan empty spaces in between. So to relax my mind, relax my body.
Actually, slightly different coping mechanism. No belongs to the, I need to see the rest of the week, my schedule. I plan it in, I have regular breaks and so forth. Whereas Yeling, you are, okay, I'm just going to focus.
One thing at a time.
One thing at a time. Okay, don't worry too many things down the road, just cluttered my whole perspective.
Yeah.
Correct?
Stress takes a lot of energy out of me. So I usually eat more and I sleep more. Yeah, and I exercise more. If I know in the coming week, I'm gonna get a lot of stress, I'll usually stack up more food in the fridge so that I can warm them and then eat them when I'm stressed.
Sounds like a camel strategy.
And then I sleep earlier.
I have quite a few coping mechanisms. Whenever I feel really stressed or overwhelmed, over the dinner table, I'll kind of try to communicate with my family how I felt, what went on that day. By expressing my emotions, I feel like my burden is lessened.
Supposing you are stressed, who's the first person you talk to?
My friends.
Your friends?
My mom?
Your mom?
And my mom.
Your mom?
Oh, it depends.
It depends on, what does it depend on? Depends on?
If it's something like studies, my tuition teacher.
Okay, very practical, right? Very practical,
And then
yes.
if it's something really, really personal, I would go to my best friends or my parents.
I was low. My mom made it a point to go to a cafe or have dinner together. Eventually, she always gets me to open up.
So she kind of know when you're not feeling
I
right.
call it mother's instinct.
Yeah.
If I have problems, I don't really go to my parents. I'll just keep it to myself first. Then if I feel like there's a need to tell them, then I will tell them.
So instead, do you talk it out with your friends?
Most of the time, yeah, I talk to them about my stuff. I don't know, I just feel more comfortable with my friends.
Maybe some of us feel like it's a burden to open up.
You're afraid of burdening your parents.
Yeah, maybe.
I do communicate with my parents a lot. I go to them whenever I feel stressed. They're kind of like my pillar of support. My mother's also from the education sector. Sometimes she'll also share with me how stressed she is at work, marking a lot of papers. Then I'll be like, my teachers must be like that too.
Say, oh, must have our fair share.
The trend is, I think we can all see youths in general, quite a lot of them are still struggling to cope with their mental well-being. What do you think are some factors that contribute to this?
A lot of people, they overthink comparing themselves to other people. Because of social media, it sets unrealistic expectations. So when When youths, they scroll through social media, they see people's lifestyles like this. It pressures them into, if everyone is doing well, why am I not doing well?
Now, this reminds me, sometimes you scroll through whether TikTok or IG, right? Then you see people doing this perfect trick shot, whether it's a basketball, you play basketball, right? So whether people play basketball, people play
then it's real or not, is it?
snooker or billiard. I'm quite sure it's real. But then,
It takes a lot of attempts.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what people don't tell you is that they might have tried 100, 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Then they film that one and say, ta-da! And then you are sitting there like, hey, why can't I do this? Somehow this add to that perhaps pressure of that unhealthy comparison.
So they forget that they're only human.
Yeah.
Everybody is human.
So I think that is unfortunately one of the challenges of the modern society that we are living in.
For me, last year I took N levels. Even after I finished my exam, I was scared that I couldn't do well. I don't like the waiting period.
Oh, I see. So the waiting for the results was another source of stress.
Yeah.
I see. Let us reassure you that it's absolutely normal. I think all of us do anticipate, right? All kinds of scenarios. What if I do well? What if I don't do well? So I think it's quite natural. But it's also part of growing up to learn to cope with this kind of, you call it anxiety, you call it stress, right?
I've interacted with some of my peers, and contrastingly, what I found out is that they actually get stressed from comparing with themselves. Yes.
okay.
So during previous exams, they would get a certain score. Then for this exam, they will be like, hey, but I did so well last time. Why is it like this? Yeah. We will get overly harsh on ourselves and then wonder, did I deprove? Like, what's happening? Should I study even harder?
It's an interesting point. If you don't do your own so-called internal debrief, you never seek to improve. But on the other hand, when you keep debriefing yourself, you can get overly stressed. And
Yeah.
last time when I was watching baseball in America, they have this thing called a batting average. And it's true that even the best hitters, they don't just keep improving every day. They go up and down, but over time they hope to generally move up, and they call improving their batting average. But actually, even within that so-called improvement in the batting average, there's quite a lot of fluctuation. So it's a bit like what you say, right? You go and sit for a test, there will be ups and downs, but generally you hope that over time you progressively move up. But to expect every test, every ball that you hit will be better than the last one, actually that's quite stressful. That's quite stressful.
So how did today's conversation make each of you feel?
Feel enlightened.
Enlightened? Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Hearing other people's perspectives actually made me realize that addressing mental health might not be as direct as I think it is.
I'm grateful for this talk and this experience because we get to have a platform where we can discuss our multiple perspectives, can all come into a common ground that we all have support. And you are not alone in this.
I'm glad to be given this opportunity to have this talk today because there's like a lot more things that I learned. Like the older generation is actually really different because of our different understandings for mental health and how there's actually different ways to cope with mental health. And I think it was really insightful and will totally bring all the knowledge back and digest it.
I do think that today I not only see y'all's point of view, but I also understand that why certain people do what they do. When it comes to coping, I will try to talk to my parents more because I don't talk to them a lot about my problems, and I think it's something that I should start doing.
You all have all said it very well. Don't judge and don't be judged. Don't judge because we don't want to do unto others what we don't want others to do unto us, right? And we shouldn't be so judgmental. We should listen empathetically, try and understand people from their perspective without making them feel that they are judged. And I think that makes for a better world. But on the other hand, we have the agency to not be judged. That no matter what people talk about us or what people expect of us, we must have the sense that we are in control. And we can all do something to prove other people wrong if we think that that is the correct thing to do.
So today's conversation has been very fruitful, very insightful. Thank you everyone for sharing your experiences, for being very open. Thank you to Minister as well for listening to all of us, and also
a lot of things as well.
to address multiple issues today. Thank you to our viewers for watching. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.